With the high-profile Lindsay Clancy murder trial in full swing, the horrors of that January 2023 day becoming more explicitly apparent in ongoing court proceedings outside of Boston. The trial gaining a level of buzz around the world in the true crime genre, with followers shocked to hear testimony from medical examiners and family members of Lindsay Clancy, the mother who strangled and murdered her 3 children before jumping out of a window and paralyzing herself in an apparent suicide attempt. The defense arguing that Lindsay Clancy was over-medicated, in a fog of chaos and thoughts, but a dedicated mother who loved her children. Prosecutors, meanwhile, believing her suicide attempt to be fake and that she premeditated the murders. Her then-husband had stepped out to run errands when she committed the crimes. He testified last week.
She said she had thoughts of harming the kids, is that correct?
Yeah.
And did she tell you whether or not she had specific thoughts of how she would harm the kids?
No.
And she didn't describe that as hearing this external voice telling her to harm the kids, correct?
Correct.
She told you she was having intrusive thoughts herself of harming the children, correct?
Correct.
And did you ask her how she was going to harm the kids?
I didn't ask it in that way. It was the same thing. I said, do you have a plan, and is it disturbing to you? And she said no, and then she said yes. And
let me go back for a minute there. You said, do you have a plan? And she said no. What was the second question, second part of the question?
Is it, do you find it disturbing?
Okay.
And she said yes. And she described it as, really the way she was describing it as something that might happen to the kids.
As a result of her telling you this, that she had thoughts of harming the kids, what did you do?
Her parents came up, and I think I asked her at some point, do you feel like you need to be kept away from them? And she said no. And then, it was very confusing because a minute later she was making them lunch or playing with them or, getting them ready for bed or whatever it was. So.
Tonight, the jury listening closely, trying to understand how a mother could commit such a gruesome atrocity as the condition of postpartum psychosis comes to the forefront. We spoke to Dr. Abhishek Rout from Appletree Medical Group to discuss what postpartum psychosis is and how commonly it appears.
Postpartum psychosis is an illness of the brain. It can arrive within weeks after childbirth, and in medicine we consider this a psychiatric emergency. Now, an emergency meaning the same urgency we bring to chest pain. It begins very suddenly and it worsens very quickly, and most often it happens within the first 2 weeks after birth. And then for some people, of course, the mother can stay at risk for months afterwards. But what does it look like from the inside? Well, for the mother themselves, we see confusion, paranoia, delusions, beliefs that aren't true but feel completely real. Oftentimes there can be hallucinations as well. There's a restlessness and almost a wired quality to it, with thoughts racing. And often when we have this no sleep, one is exhausted beyond the point of words. But what I want families to really hold on to is half of the women who have postpartum psychosis have no prior diagnosis of serious mental illness at all. And so it really can arrive without warning in any woman with no history at all.
Dr. Rout also pointing out that postpartum psychosis is rare and different than regular postpartum blues.
We have multiple layers of this. So first, what we see very commonly is what we call the baby blues. About 85% of new mothers will experience it. Tearfulness, mood swings, irritability starting within days. But very rarely what we do see is postpartum psychosis. So research places it around 1 to 2 women in every 1,000 births. So very rare. And then outcomes like we see in the news are even rarer still.
And Teresa, the trial is expected to wrap up next week, and Lindsay Clancy has not pleaded guilty to first-degree murder. Deliberations and then a verdict in this horrific story will follow. If convicted, she could face life in prison without parole, while if found not guilty, she will serve her time at a state mental health facility. For the News Forum, I'm Lucas Michtics reporting.